Dune Imperium has a digital edition, and the good news is that the bots are actually pretty good. I'm going to take up the challenge and do a full game playthrough here on Legendary Tactics. I'm really excited about this digital implementation of Dune Imperium. I think it plays really well. I think it's very slick. You can play a game, especially a solo game, pretty quickly as far as these things go. And as I said in the intro, the bots are actually pretty good. So I'm going to play through a game here. I'm going to take the Count Ilban Richesse after a little bit of consideration as to whether to take Helena. But we're going to go with that one. We'll take a look at the combat card. Well, actually, I love that award for first place. But other than that, if I feel I can't win, I'm going to stay out of this one, save my forces for later. Very typical opening hand here. And I'm just scanning through the different cards here that are available for purchase, just so you can see. I always seem to lean towards the Bene Gesserit in this game. Although now that I have the Rise of X expansion, I know that the Space Guild is going to be a lot more compelling. I've never really found the Imperial track to be that interesting, and I started out. I was always befriending the Fremen from the get-go, so I was thinking, as you might expect, to win some favor with the Bene Gesserit. And I mean, the reality is you need to build influence with all four factions. Those 4 victory points for each track are going to be a big part of most people's victory. And so now I'm going looking at the different options here, and just confirming the power that I get with Count Ilban. And I find that the game is really interesting for a worker placement game. If you're not familiar with this game at all, generally speaking, you start out with a certain number of workers, and you place them and you gain extra workers. So, in a game like Viticulture, you might have, 5 or 6 or something like that, 5, 6 workers by the end of the game to place, and there's lots of options. Here, you are stuck with 2. And if you get the Swordmaster, you can get a 3rd. But you don't even need to do that to win, which is really interesting to me. Because typically there's a tendency in these sort of games where you are, you're driven towards, getting the most amount of staff, essentially, and then placing them. And here you've only got the 2 workers. So I grabbed some spice. It cost me some water, but it was okay. I was able to recover that water with the card, and now we're looking to purchase cards here, and again, very atmospheric sounds and so forth. I threw in 1 troop into the battle just because as 1 troop and I could pick up a benefit of some Solari. I thought, why not? No harm done. It's something that I'm sure I can reinvest and get some value. I'm going to take that one there, and we're going to move on to round 2 right after this conflict. And obviously, Duke Leto wins that battle and takes a step on the Imperial track. I'll just take the money and run. New conflict revealed. The Imperial Basin. Very interesting. I love the top reward. Any of those residual benefits are nice, especially if it's spice, which can be traded in for a lot of Solari, and also is very useful with many cards. I'm not sure necessarily if the other 2 are as interesting that way. The other 2 areas where you can win a conflict, but any residual income's fine. So anyway, I ended up with pretty weak. I got Dagger and a couple of cards there. A few that are fairly weak. So Anyway, we're going to take that extra spice. It's essentially free. And we're going to deploy some troops here. See if we can take at least a second prize. If we can take second prize with just a single troop, may as well. I mean, Duke Leto spent all of his troops last time. So, no problem. I'll just spend one troop and just make it a priority to buy some more before too long. And it looks like the bot there is overcommitting to that battle. I don't think either of us are necessarily going to challenge that, but I will take the Imperial thing there and get some money and some troops, and so that one's a good space there. That gives us a nice balanced reward for your worker, provided you have the spice to spend. It's not cheap. And so this is our turn here. We're going to do our reveal. And we managed to snag second place. And kind of a mixed bag. The voice is a card that seems very intriguing, but I don't really know, honestly, how effective it is in general. I suppose if there's a really high value space you really want to protect, and you happen to have it in hand and you happen to have the time to use it, it can be great. But anyway, it's a bit of a situational thing. So we move on to round 2 here, and unfortunately I have to give up a victory point there, but get some water. And water is always useful in a place like Arrakis, that's for sure. This award seems a lot less interesting to me. Some spice and a card that's fine, but I don't know. I'm not going to necessarily prioritize jumping into the fray. Even sending in a troop for 2 spice feels a bit expensive, given sometimes the effort involved with getting that soldier both recruited to my garrison and then into the fight. It just seems like a bit much. So anyway, we'll just go and speak to the Bene Gesserit. We've got our first victory point, and we're kind of looking at a bunch of different options here. And there is kind of weak cards here, but we'll get the Swordmaster. This gives us our third worker, which does give an edge. If you're the first person to get the Swordmaster, it does give you an edge. As I said, this game's interesting in that you don't need to have the full 3 workers in order to win. You can do it with 2. But the Swordmaster, especially if you have it early, gives you that extra round of play every single turn until your opponents get that sorted out. And I have a feeling if it's done early enough, I think it can have a fair impact in play. Another aspect of this part of things as well is that if you can maximize your influence to purchase new cards for your deck. If there are expensive ones, I in my experience, they're almost always worth it, even if they don't necessarily work terrifically well with your strategy. Usually the bonuses on them are quite good, and even if you don't end up using them in conjunction with a Fremen bond or something like that, there's usually some great benefits there. So the cheaper cards, I think, in a lot of ways, just tend to clog the deck. Dune Imperium's a deck building game, but one of the challenges is that you're not building an engine in the same way as a lot of other deck building games. This game feels like it is you're adding personalities into your deck that pop up from now and then, and you want to run a lean deck as possible, but it's kind of interesting because a lot of the card abilities and everything are, you can build some engines to it, but it's not I wouldn't say this game feels like an engine builder in the same way. It's got a very unique feel in that sense. I mean, it's worker placement, but only with 2 workers, and it's deck building, but without a real sense of building a finely tuned machine. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I'm just going to take the army and a fresh card, see what I can get if I get some luck there, and and I'll just take the 2 money as 2 Solari. No point in holding on to that card really. And great, I draw a dagger. That's not the most useful card to play, but that's fine. And my opponents, of course, are going to do their reveal card or their reveal phase, and I've got a bit of influence to buy something interesting potentially, but this is where it also helps to get that extra influence every round by getting, I think it's the High Council, I think they call it. And I've got 6 to spend. Chani is a really good one that can really build up some loyalty with a Fremen as well. That one's an okay card with the Space Guild. Depends. As I said, the Space Guild kind of comes more into its own in the with the Ix expansion. I'm sure that the Ix expansion is coming to this digital platform, but we don't have it yet. And we have the analog version, which I have just started to play with and to figure out. So it kind of adds some intriguing new elements. But as I said, I usually like to buy the more expensive cards. But in this case, I'm building up what I feel is some sort of synergies. If you can build up those synergies, obviously the Fremen bond being one of them, there are some great combinations that you can do. I didn't feel totally I didn't feel I needed to commit too much to that battle, but if I can walk away with first prize just committing 1 troop, then I'll do it. And I've got the biggest garrison right now, which is perfect timing because this is a little bit more of an intriguing award. Now, as I said, the game plays pretty quickly. It does get more involved in the later rounds, but you can see we're already on round 4, which is pretty speedy to me, being just not even 15 minutes into the game. Now, again, I find that the later turns is more kind of thinking involved and more, you have to be a little bit more careful with your moves. I'm just kind of looking to figure out how to make the best of not a great hand. I do have some military with the Gunthropter there. That could be of help. Again, I do have the voice, which I acquired it early, so I could potentially block off that space with those 4 spice there. That one has a great card effect that I can't get the best value out of at the moment. So I'll just spend the water and get some spice. I've got 7 spice now, so I can trade that in for a lot of Solari if need be. And because I moved to a conflict space, looking at the competition, I'll throw in 2, and we'll see how things go. If I do have 1 extra worker, so I can, in addition to getting the benefits of that extra move, you also get that chance to decide last of all if you really want to join in on a conflict. And I see Duke Leto has 2 in reserve and may try and tie me. I can potentially edge him out in the last round after he's played his after he's shown me exactly what he's committing to, and he's committing both his troops. So if I'm going to win that one, I'm going to have to throw in at least 1 more. And it doesn't look like there's going to be much competition from red here at all. I also have that as additional combat points if I decide to hold on to it. So we'll grab another card. As I said, I like that space because you never know what you can pick up, like this one, for example. And this creates a bit of a dilemma with as far as my last turn goes, because I do need to go into a conflict space, and the challenge is that that card, obviously has some good benefits as far as the event goes. So none of the green pentagon spaces have any crossed swords at the bottom. So even though I could use the extra troops or the the extra influence or what have you, or even the mentat, it's not necessarily going to be my best overall move. So it's going to be tough to balance this, because I do want to win that conflict just to get the additional influence. And hey, two of those cards, as well, the intrigue cards are going to be very useful. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. I guess we can potentially split the spoils at the end of the battle, but I'm essentially counting on my Gunthropter being there to provide the extra combat value, so to allow me to win the conflict. And none of the cards seem that interesting, although I do kind of like that little one banger that I just bought. But the cards are not necessarily that interesting. I do have 2 extra influence that I can use if I need to, with that intrigue card there. And interestingly, the red pulls out. They almost, with some combat cards, they almost actually pass me, and they actually leave Duke Leto in the dust. So I managed to pull off an influence, a couple of intrigue cards as well. We got Master Tactician and Private Army, so lots of potential potential firepower there. I'm going to grab the next victory point, and it's a 3-way tie with 2, and a race to the top there. Now this conflict card is with 6 Solari. Much less interesting to me. I'm happy to take the turn to build up. Same strategy. If I can take it with 1 troop, I will. I'm not going to overcommit. There's no way 6 Solari are worth committing 3 troops to the battle. So maybe 1 for 4. We'll see how things go. But you need to be very judicious with your troops and literally pick your battles to make sure that you're not wasting troops on battles which don't really give you what you're looking for. So just kind of contemplating, looking. I've got some opportunities with diplomacy and the Fremen card to actually get some more influence, which could be great. But we'll take some spice. We're up to 10 spice now, which is kind of crazy. And as far as deploying troops go, well, we'll just throw 1 in there. As I said, if we can, Duke Leto's empty, so I'm not going to commit any more than that. But if I manage to steal it for a song, essentially 1 troop for 4 Solari, I think that's a fair enough trade, I think. And then I'll keep my powder dry until a later conflict comes up that's a little more juicy. Obviously, we're going to go there, restore some troops, get some money, an intrigue card. It's a great space if you can afford the spice, and we get a victory point as well for advancing along the track. Now, Duke Leto Yellow has totally taken that victory point, so I'm not in a massive rush necessarily to get any further on that track, but certainly I've got the lead in the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild, and even though I may not win the Fremen one, there's another victory point to be had there. So hopefully we can kind of see a pathway where we can get another 3 victory points from those tracks, and the rest of them will need to make up with combat or what have you. So. But we do have a lot of troops. We got massive garrison with 7. That's awesome. and but we're still not going to commit any more any more stuff. I was more interested, I think, in the influence with the Fremen than I was in the actual space in that case. And I don't like spending a water sometimes, but whatever. You got to do what you got to do. And doing the reveal phase, unfortunately, there's not a lot of influence there to spend. So I'll grab the guild administrator maybe. The Reverend Siege Reverend Mother, that is a great card. Gives you the ability to destroy one of your cards and prune down your deck, and gives you influence there. It can be a great one. So I'm going to spend my my card there, and I'm going to grab that one because I just think that's a great card. All right, so now I have the ability to retreat back to the garrison, but I'm fine. I'm just weighing whether it's worth the card. I don't think it's worth the card to beat the Countess here. Just take 4 Solari and run, and the Countess is essentially spent. I've got 7 troops in the garrison, so. And the Duke Leto and the Countess are both spent. So I'm going to make sure that I get that permanent 2 influence with the seat on the High Council, which is, I believe that's what it's called. And that's going to help out big time. And I feel like I'm actually in a pretty good spot, even though the scores are tied. Again, full garrison, and I can... I've got a lot of spice there. I've got some good sources of Solari, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot overall. I'm just looking to maximize the situation. My cards I don't feel are great, but I'll obviously draw a fresh one. That one is okay because you can trash it and get it out of your hand for 4 Solari later, which is pretty good. Now I've got 8 troops to their... Duke Leto got a troop there and threw that lone troop in there, and I'm going to see if I can steal that victory point. Again, somewhat interested in the control of the region. I mean, having any passive income is great, but not my priority. And I'm just looking right now to, as we're kind of around the halfway point of the game here, I'm hoping that I can actually just start to win the combats. As the later combat cards start turning up, they're going to have more victory points on them, and if I have the strongest garrison and the best overall position, as long as I hold my own on the influence tracks, I think I can pull out a win here. Although it's funny, I'm technically losing at the moment, even though I feel like I'm in a good spot. It's just a matter of using my my 3rd worker, and now the Countess has got her 3rd now. And Duke Leto is still lagging behind a bit, and has to do a reveal. And actually, the Countess gets the last laugh here, and the Duke buys the spice must flow, which is great. It's up to 5 already. And the Countess takes the Mentat with her last turn. I do my reveal, and I've got a bunch of influence to spend here. So the question is, there's a lot of actually some intriguing cards up there. Do I just get the Spice Must Flow and get a victory point? Yeah, I guess so. If you can make it to 9 influence, it's probably a pretty good purchase just to take the victory point and get that passive spice income coming in. And the Mentat goes and takes some spice for the Countess, and that's fine. And then she does her reveal phase, and I'm looking at my combat cards here. Do I commit to reinforcement? And interestingly, Duke Leto comes out of nowhere with a combat card. So now I will just spend 2 spice to overpower Duke Leto's combat card, and I'm going to pass this time and see what other cards might come in. It looks like the count passes and I steal that victory point, and that is a great thing. That was closer than it should have been. Even when you have a leg up in combat in terms of troops, it doesn't mean anything if you don't have if your opponent has some intrigue cards. You really never know if you actually will win. I think it's a really good mechanism to have in a game like this. Never let the combat be absolutely certain. Anyway, I've got some my powerful cards here. I got the Gunthropter. I have the Siege Reverend Mother as well. So lots of great stuff in hand. Looks like there's some influence on the line and an intrigue card. So I think this is a good opportunity in combination with diplomacy. I can take control of either Spacing Guild or, well, actually, sorry, just Bene Gesserit, I guess. But I can also get a victory point from the Fremen there. So I'm going to take a fold space, and those cards can obviously come in very handy, even though they're one-time use. And interesting, the bot is going for the Mentat, so that's interesting. I guess Duke Leto feels jealous that we have 3 workers to place. So, all right. So now Spacing Guild or 2 Spice, and that card is great if you've got the Spacing Guild Alliance. You can trade in 3 Spice for a victory point. That is a kind of an engine building thing. If there is anything like that in this game, that's where you might find it. The Siege Reverend Mother is great if you do have a Fremen bond, but if you don't, then you're probably better off, taking the action instead. So I'm just thinking about balancing this out. How do I make sure? I mean, it'd be great if I could get that alliance and get that benefit, because I do have 4 spice, so I could buy another victory point. So it's going really back and forth between the 2 and which one makes the most sense. They're both good, and I do have 2 workers, but I'll have to take an intrigue card and move ever closer to an alliance with the Bene Gesserit. Of the cards that you can trash, I mean, Dune the Desert Planet is a fairly obvious choice. Dagger is also probably about equal in terms of low value, and those are probably the 2 that you would look at trashing if you do have that opportunity. Just pare down your deck, and especially as the game goes on, once you have the Swordmaster, once you have the seat in the High Council and so forth, the greens become a lot less interesting. But the yellow triangles are always going to be useful because of the spice trade. So if you have to trash one of the 2, I mean, either of them are fine, I guess, but I would generally choose the dagger. It does cost you a bit of combat strength potentially if you have it in hand, but there are a lot of other cards that provide combat strength, so I'm not totally worried about that. So just trying to figure out what the best. I'm not going to go in on the battle. Obviously, it's way too much for that. I'll just have to hope that the Countess goes for like the Fremen alliance or something like that, because the Bene Gesserit would be a pain if she took that alliance. Certainly, if I were a live player and I were playing the Countess, that would be the one that I would take. But anyway, we'll have to see what works there. So looking at this card, I mean, obviously the combat value is not necessarily going to matter, although I could zip in and steal something. And I just don't have the spice to add to the Spacing Guild. So I was able to kind of get at it in a different way. And really taking the green space there is not necessarily the best space, but it really was the only one that I could take in order to gain the alliance of the Spacing Guild. And looking at this game now, I'm like, yeah, the Bene Gesserit seems more vulnerable, but I did all I could in that sense. So you have to take what you can, and I take the Solari as well, which is always valuable. So I don't have a great reveal phase coming up, though. I'll say that much. So we'll do what we can. I mean, fortunately, we have that seat in the High Council, so we have something that's we can buy something at least reasonably good. But the offering is not that great. I don't feel I need a second Gunthropter, although it's kind of spending all the influence. And I really don't want to waste those for influence either. So anyway, we're going to, I guess, buy the Gunthropter. And we're going to just have to roll with that. I mean, I guess if we are going for a military strategy, then to be honest, that's not necessarily the worst thing to have those in place. And I win a second place, which is some spice and an intrigue card and so forth. But Duke Leto is now at 8 victory points. We are closing in on the end of the game here. Still just at the end of round 7, beginning of round 8, and now the battles become must-win. I really do not have a choice. The Countess reveals a card to take the Bene Gesserit alliance from me. And she's well up the track now too, so that's not in play anymore. So we're going to have to figure something out here. Gonna just I'm looking at just taking the Fremen, the troops there, but that's a waste because I've already got 10 troops in the battle, and I do need to deploy those troops essentially as much as possible. I have enough space for spice for Highliner, so that is an interesting opportunity. A bit of a waste in some ways because we can't really benefit from the troops there, but just in terms of where I got a couple troops out of it, but yeah, well, anyway, the point is to drop in enough troops, as many as I can with that card there. Just that basically, as because this is a must-win scenario. Now it was interesting because I was capped. Normally I'd have 5 troops to place, but I could only place 4, presumably because there was the 2 that I got from Highliner, or plus the 2 from the conflict. I'm not even sure how that works. I should have been able to place more, but anyway, this is where it gets interesting, and I'm going to have to commit because Duke Leto is going to go all in as well on his end of things. And so we're going to have to do a card. Again, it'd be nice to get that victory point. I will not get any troops out of it, and it will cost me a water. But anyway, we have to maybe make this sacrifice because unless I can think of a different way to go about it, I suppose I could use the voice. Get some spice out of it, but it's essentially 1 spice or 3 spice for a water. I could spend the 2 water and get 4 spice, but I don't know. It's a tough call, and especially since I really don't know what combat cards I'm up against. So there's also this opportunity taking 1 troop, so the impact is a bit less, but I get a card. Maybe I can do that something with, but in the end I think 3 spice is worth the move and the water, and we're going to I now use the voice to block a play. Again, I don't know where. One of my big problems with the voice is I really don't honestly know what space I would want to block in a lot of cases. But anyway, I'm going all in on this here. Hopefully, Duke Leto has 3 intrigue cards in hand, so who knows? There could be some combat cards there. This game could be over any second. But I'm going all in, as is the Duke, and I do have some help with my got the Master Tactician, and plans within plans. This is actually really good if I can get. I'm actually almost there a bit, as far as where my influence is, and I think it would be great, end game thing to do if a nice surprise if I can get that influence on those tracks. So I'm going to start working towards that goal. I'm at 7 victory points to 8 and 6. So we're going to see what the reveal phase reveals. Looks like I'm going to win. I had to go literally all in on that battle. That doesn't look too pretty. I'm going to leave the cupboards fairly barren for next time around. If it ends up being a 2 victory point card again, it's going to be very tough to get the troop level up again. I don't have enough spice to do highliner. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So we got 4 influence to spend, and in general, the card offering has not really been that great. So I'm not totally disappointed in myself, but I do feel like there are probably some better strategies to make sure you have more influence to spend. This is the interesting thing. I'm going to have to. I can pass and then see what the Duke does. And he passes. Managed to pull this one out. Whew, that was close. So 2 victory points, and now we are very close to the end game here. This is so when you win a conflict, I can spend 2 spice and get a couple of spaces up a track here with demand respect as an intrigue card. The question is it worth the spice? And I guess we'll say it is. And now the question is which track. I need to be up on the Fremen track and the Imperial track in order to score my secret intrigue card. And I'll take this and at least threaten Duke Leto's control of the Imperial side. You never know where that one could go. And of course, it is a 2 victory point combat card. And the Duke's garrison is empty, but the Countess and I are at par. So I do have the Master Tactician card. I think there's no question this is going to be the last round of the game. It's just a matter of how to best maximize the situation. So again, I think stealing the Imperial victory point here is kind of intriguing. It puts us into the end game position here, but there's still some rounds left. And what I'm hoping to do here is a bit of a finesse. I'm going to have to advance on the Fremen track as well. I've got the Bene Gesserit, the Sietch Reverend Mother for the Fremen track. And so that will get me exactly where I need to go. It also might prompt the Duke to respond to my move, and I don't know if it's possible to take back the Imperial control at this point, but I'm going to just lock in that victory condition here. I've got to trash a card. I don't know if it really matters at this point. Just trash this card here. And again, you can see they're going all in on this battle. And so I'm going to fight for it. This is going to be the last round anyway, so it doesn't matter. I've got essentially 12 victory points in hand here. But obviously, if there's something I can do, and I don't know if there is, I'm going to fight for that first place. Now, really, actually, as it sits, with Duke Leto going back down to 7 victory points after losing control of the Emperor's faction there, the Imperial faction, I'm a little less threatened by that card, because I can really well, and actually the Countess is at 6, so it doesn't really matter for me to with that card. It's not gonna matter probably to the end. I just have to make sure that there's nothing sneaky. There's going to be other cards that pop up. I thought I'll take an intrigue card just in case I get an interesting combat card, and I actually kind of did. And just seeing what I can do to give myself a couple of extra troops. Now with now I'm not that far out, and with Master Tactician in hand, I might be able to pull this out. Now the Countess has 2 intrigue cards. Sorry, I've been misreading that from earlier. The Duke has 1, so no idea where this could end up, but it doesn't. We're at the reveal phase now, so. And again, it doesn't really matter. If I had 9 influence, I'd buy the Spice Must Flow, but I don't. So I'm going to have to just buy whatever. It doesn't really matter. Buy an expensive card. And the Countess gets to play yet another card, boosts the theggarrison, and really goes all in. But I'm fine with that. That's not too threatening to me. The game is essentially over here, so especially with my backup intrigue card and so forth. So I'm not too worried. It's going to be kind of a close one, but I'll use my combat card here that I've been saving all game. See if I can get at least a second. And the Duke passes. Countess passes, and we are into the battle. And the battle is obviously going to go for the Countess, but I grabbed some spice. I mean, 5 spice out of that. Well, that's not too bad. But anyway, we're doing the end game here. This is basically it. So everyone reveals whatever cards they have left. And I end up at 12, which is nice and safe, and 12 to 9 to 7. So anyway, I hope this playthrough was fun and interesting. I know my commentary wasn't absolutely perfect at all times, but I hope it was kept you reasonably entertained. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next time on Legendary Tactics.